starting once again on Diddle Island, Barry Diller's Little Island. It's an interesting thing. I've never seen anything in this amphitheater. It looks like it would be nice, but we're not here to talk about Diddle Island exactly. It's Felix Sater. It's a name that's come up a lot lately. Not really somebody that most people know too much about. He's an unlikely subject for some. What I want to talk about specifically is the city of Almaty, Kazakhstan versus Felix Sater. He got sued by a city. It's bad, right? What's funny is when I started talking about him, this is the control room. When I started talking about him, that girl Julie popped up. I mean, just to reiterate for people who maybe don't remember the details of that, Felix Sater first came to my attention when it became apparent that he was represented by the same attorney that I was using when I got sued, or that is to say, a fake corporate entity concocted by George's mentally ill brother, named to substantially resemble a company that I used to own. The purpose of that idea was to trick me. It worked, actually, by the way, to trick me into thinking that I could be held, financially liable for a judgment against this thing and that I better do something. And what's weird is a sensible attorney would have told me, pay no attention to that threat of a lawsuit against a fake thing because you haven't been served yet. Any lawyer would tell you until you get served with a lawsuit, don't do anything. Well, any lawyer who's not a moron or trying to set you up to deliberately lose the case, which is what I allege was going on. Now again, when I make these allegations based on information and belief, I'm looking at evidence in the public domain. Now wait a minute. Is something wrapped around the top of the Empire State Building over there? Do people see that? The spire? Let's look at this evidence, shall we? What is that? What on earth is that? There was a time, a long time ago, when they put a giant inflatable King Kong on there. I don't think that's that, but it's strange. Anyway, what I was saying is, when I accuse these people of things, I'm making allegations based on information and belief, I'm looking at evidence in the public domain and making sort of speculative conclusions to some extent. They're allegations is what they are. These things haven't necessarily been proven yet. You might look at the same evidence and come to a different conclusion. I tell people that all the time because a lot of people don't understand what Crowdsource the Truth is about, particularly this person, Julie, or anybody that is trying to, stop what it is that I'm trying to do. And by that, I don't mean just trying to get people to sign up and become members on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Look at that FDNY fire boat. Isn't that cool? No, but what I mean is people who want to stop me from using this crowdsource process where, as I grow my reach on social media, try to get back to where I was at one point when we had 120,000 people watching on YouTube. When I would talk about stuff and all those people would see the video, a lot of information would come back to me and I'd learn things. That's been happening. There was actually a big crowdsource breakthrough. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Not that I'm trying to hide anything from anybody, but strategically I don't yet want to reveal. There's the crowdsource effort, and then there's also the counter lawfare effort. By the way, there hasn't been enough time to discuss all the discussion of the lawfare that's been going on. That little kid just almost kicked me right in the face. People think it's cute when their kid kicks you in the face. It makes me very angry when things like that happen.
And it's like, and how
luckily it didn't, but yeah, the reach is what they're trying to destroy. And it was interesting to see this person, Julie, come back, because I first learned about Felix Sater when I was represented by Jonathan Snyder in that Emmys lawsuit. And tomorrow is an extremely important day for the Emmys lawsuit, because what's happened is they sued this fake entity. And I allege they did that because I was getting a little too good at defending myself pro se. And they wanted to try to really, you know, shut me down, destroy all the YouTube channels, all the Twitter accounts, drain all my money, break my spirit, basically, make me not want to, you know, come out here and do videos for everybody, show people all the different cool things you can do in New York City in the summertime, the sights to behold, and to talk about, you know, maybe topics that other people aren't talking about that much, such as Felix Sater and what is going on in that case of Almaty, Kazakhstan versus Felix Sater. Now again, when I found out about him, I didn't care. I was like, yeah, whatever, you're representing Felix Sater. And Snyder presented to me, he's like, hey, have you ever heard of this guy? And I was like, no, not really. And I mean, I'm sure he explained to me that he was involved. I don't remember exactly what I thought the moment that Snyder told me he was representing Felix Sater. He, as I recall, presented it to me to sort of like establish his street cred, you know? Because here I was, we're facing off against Caproni, who we knew was the FBI general counsel. So we've got this FBI judge and you know, Adam Sharp with the Twitter stuff, and his father being in the police station in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963, and hanging out with Cuban anti-Castro, you know, Cuban exiles in Tampa, Florida in 1957, all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, Snyder was presenting himself to me as like, hey man, you know, let's stick it to the man. I'm ready. Let's do it. We're gonna fight the deep state. You know, was basically what he was trying to say. He's used to it. He's representing, you know, these Russian mafia characters and stuff like that. Because also what happened was George's mentally ill brother started harassing Snyder. Now, see, this is the tricky part, and this goes to social engineering, because a lot of times what they'll do is they want to establish who is an ally and who is an enemy, and they'll frequently, as I observe, stage fights, you know, fake alliances. That's what they do with me, is they form fake alliances, like George and any of these people that have deceived me. They want you to think that you're, you know, that they're your friend or an ally or something, so that you will let your guard down and then they can strike. But the other thing that they do is that they create fake enemies. It's one of the most common things. And by the way, you know, everything I'm talking about that's been applied to me with social engineering to make these lawfare cases effective, they're doing times 1,000 to Trump. So they have these people who are there to gain your trust by seeming like they're aligned with you, by seeming like they want to help you, etc., etc. You know who I'm talking about. People like Michael Flynn, people like those who this person, Julie, was really adamant to defend when she came into that Twitter Spaces. It was just so bizarre how she acted. I think most people can see they don't really feel like normal people would act that way about, you know, somebody that's not there. Look, they have a piano here that you can play. Can this kid play piano? I think he's just kind of messing around. That's interesting. Seems like that would rot or break or get stolen in a day. You got hot dogs and sandwiches here. Whew, it really is hot today. But anyway, you know, there's a lot of people who can read these pleadings and follow this case since 2009 or whatever, and they're going to be able to tell you, you know, what's going on. I'm not when I say I went to the case, I spent several days last week actually at the case, in court, sitting there in the gallery, listening, and it was very interesting. There's a lot going on there. I brought a notepad because there's so many confusing names and everything. I wrote them down. And again, see, I don't know, Julie, a lot of people will look at what happened and think like, oh, they're in competition, she's jealous. And I mean, yes, it can look that way. I could see how somebody would think that. And again, you know, when these, if I'm right, and she's been assigned by somebody to do this, to, you know, distract people away from some particular information about an intelligence operation or whatever it is, whoever would motivate her to do that would do it for. If I'm right, you know, they'd want it to, there's plausible deniability becomes a big part of that. They want it to seem like, oh yeah, she's just another independent journalist and she's jealous, or she's a psychopathic, you know, maniac who, let's think about what she did for a second. She became so focused on arguing with me on Twitter, it was really psychotic. I mean, when Snyder first mentions, hey, he's also defending this Russian mafia guy, so he's not afraid of a weirdo in an RV threatening him. I think that was the context that it initially came up under, which is interesting. And so I just didn't think about it very much. It's like, whatever, this guy has clients. One of them is tangled up with the Russian mafia. I don't know what to say about that. I was concerned with my own lawsuit from the Emmys. But it was when Snyder withdrew and the case collapsed. See, that's what happened. Snyder took all my money, failed to follow my instructions as far as what I wanted done in the case, put me in a very, very bad position in the case, and then withdrew. And he basically, you know, forced me to allow him to withdraw. I didn't really realize the full extent of this, but there was like, you know, a process by which I could have said, no, don't let him withdraw. And he sort of preempted that by telling me, don't resist this withdrawal. And because he threatened he was going to put a lien on the retainer. But there was no formal retainer fee, no retainer agreement. We were just sort of like, I was paying him, you know, as I had money as we went along. And that was part of the problem, is he was getting annoyed that I was taking more time than I had money, obviously. And that was their plan. That tension is always going to come up unless you're, you know, Donald Trump or somebody super rich who can pay lawyers indefinitely. It's a pretty easy guess that if you keep legal pressure on somebody for months and months, they're going to run out of money. But anyway, when Snyder withdrew and my case collapsed, I forget exactly how I became re-interested in Felix Sater, but it was when I observed that Judge Caproni was originally assigned to his case, and they've been playing dumb about this. I can't imagine that, you know, Snyder and Tom Sema, the guys who, I forget the third guy's name, but he represents MEM, which is a sort of a separate company that was somehow aligned with, you know, that's also getting sued by Almaty. But it's Tom Sema and John Snyder who represent Sater. So, I mean, again, remember when I met Sater in the park, Sema was telling me that Snyder doesn't know that they're meeting with me. Why would you do that? Why would you deceive your law? I don't know if they're law partners in a law firm, but on this case they are, your litigation partner. Why would you deceive him or keep information from him, particularly something as important as, hey, we're meeting with your former client who's pissed off at both of you. Well, let's see if they're doing anything with this Tesla robot. If it's taken over the world yet. It's still just standing there. Yeah, see, kids would be interested in that. There's a giant robot standing in the window. I mean, if you were a 10-year-old kid or whoever old that kid is and this store had a robot in the window, I think you'd lose your mind from that. I'm, you know, over 50 and I'm losing my mind from the robot store. So see, it's still 2023. We need an update here, Elon Musk. This robot is not doing a damn thing. People are upset that this thing is too dangerous if it crashes into you. I mean, you know, okay, what about an 18-wheeler? What about that bus? I I guess it doesn't matter, huh? So Sater, I don't believe that they would have met with me in the park and not told Jonathan Snyder about that, but they're sticking by that ridiculous story. The reason that I went there is that I'm trying to figure out what is going on that's not written in the pleadings. See, that's where the lawfare magic happens. And it's interesting to note that, when I initially contacted Julie and said, hey, you have the Felix Sater blog, I know some things about Felix Sater that maybe you don't know, and I was basing that on, us both being represented by the same attorney and all this stuff about Valerie Caproni. I figured somebody who's interested in him and intrigue surrounding him would be interested in finding out about that. And then, she was doing, I think what we learned from the whole interaction with Julie in Friends is, more about social engineering. She tried to do some stuff that was sort of very Chris Boozy-ish, right? Like, she wasn't interested in talking to me when I approached her in good faith and said, I have information about Felix Sater, you're the Felix Sater blog, let's talk. She wasn't interested in talking at all, and in fact, she was rude. It was only when I, interacted with Sater and got him to say things that maybe he didn't like, I don't know, but started interacting with Sater, then she came out and she wanted to counteract everything that I was saying, but almost like maniacally. Why does she care? Just go off and say whatever you want about Felix Sater. There's tons and tons of people who are putting out all kinds of videos that disagree with so many different things that I say. I don't become obsessed with those people and get all over their Twitter all day until they get deleted. So let's talk about a little bit of what was learned from that insane interaction. Because like I said, I think she was using some tactics that are now better understood. For instance, she was drawing me into various arguments, right? And then I was getting mad and I was, calling her names and saying things that I guess she was able to determine were likely to be seen as hate speech or threats or whatever different categories Twitter has. There's certain people who are experts at reporting you, but then I started reporting her tweets. Like she reported me. No, this is what happened. She reported me. No, that's not the guy. Hang on, where's the order of how these go? Here we go, here she is. So now she's got me blocked, right? Oh no, so I got her kicked off. Hang on, let's start again. Here's what was happening with Julie. She drew me into a fight, same way Chris Boozy did. Start arguing, dogpiling with all these fake accounts. Maybe there's somebody who's got 5-10 phones set up, messing with you with multiple accounts, get you really worked up. And then they're looking to make you say certain key words, call her a bitch or whatever. And then they say, oh, that's hateful conduct, strike it with Twitter. And so she did that and she got 18 tweets struck. And so then I was setting it up so that everything that I was saying included an explanation for whoever was going to examine this at Twitter. In other words, I was saying hey, why do you keep interacting with me? You're saying this is harassment. So I was reporting all of her tweets back to me, trying to say, look, if she wants to, I'm telling her, just shut up and go away and stop responding to me and this will stop. So then that stopped. And then the next day, so this is what happened. I went to court, and one of the things that came up in court, they have a lawyer there testifying. I think the case is still going on today, but I was busy with other counter lawfare work that we'll perhaps talk about as well. So I couldn't go today, but when I was there last week, one of the things that came up, right, there was this intelligence firm called Arcana Consultants, and that was hired, BTA as the bank that's had billions of dollars stolen from it. I think I mentioned this last time, but this is worth repeating. The reason why this is so important to the city of Almaty, Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan in general is because BTA Bank is the second largest bank in Kazakhstan. And this whole thing all began around 2009, or at least it seems the investigation into it began in 2009. And what they said in court was that it's super important because Kazakhstan was trying to establish itself as a strong, sovereign nation that people could trust to invest in, and they felt that if everybody thought that they're idiots getting billions of dollars stolen from them, they wouldn't have confidence to invest. So they've been pursuing this investigation very carefully. They spoke about how they hired contractors and lawyers and investigators and all kinds of different things to get this money recovered, these billions of dollars that were stolen through, what is it, PBA, Paribas or whatever that is, and Bank of Scotland, and they had lawsuits in the United Kingdom, in the United States. This was a big, big deal. And so they said that this thing called RJI, through a subcontractor, RJI was hired to be involved in the investigation, and they had a subcontractor called Arcanum Consultants. And it was a private investigation firm that was made up of former U.S. intelligence people. Now, I haven't gone deep on this Arcanum thing to see who was working there in 2013, or as I recall, that was the time frame they were talking about relative to this thing. But now it's all these kind of former FBI this and NSA that. And what's interesting is that thing had another contractor called, what was that called? Litco. So they were looking at this contract that had been signed by BTA Bank and some of these subcontractors that were helping them investigate to find the money. And also the guy who, there was this murder of the guy who was running the bank, and that guy, what was the name of the guy who got murdered? The bank guy. Well, he was murdered by, they say, and he was convicted in absentia, this guy, Ablazov. There's a lot of difficult names involved in this, so I had to take notes. And it's a complicated thing. So to be clear, I'm not trying to compete with existing Felix Sater blogs and tell you the story of what it is that he's telling everybody that he did, or read the pleadings to you or whatever. It's important to understand when you go into court, one side pleads, white, and the other side pleads black. And what we're trying to figure out is, what is the gap here? What is true? I don't know. But it's interesting that this person, Julie, is very adamant about pushing, Felix Sater's side of the story. The effort to recover the money began in August of 2009. Okay? And you have Nicholas Borg and Ilyas Krapov or something. And Sater was involved in flipping Borg, they said. So that's what is going on, is that Sater becomes involved in the investigation to recover all these billions of stolen money. And it's Tatachev is the guy who's murdered. And Ablaziov is accused of paying somebody to kill this guy. He dies on a hunting trip. But, again, all of these details, we can get quite bogged down in all of that. And, Julie has spent years and years writing this blog, spending all this time. She's gonna write a book, and she doesn't want to make any money from it. She's just doing it because she's got to struggle and work at a beer store to earn money, but she doesn't mind spending all of her extra time, hours and hours, creating a blog, something that she could easily do on Medium or Substack or any of these things. Everybody's trying to monetize this work. It's hard work. I've always said, I think personally, people should be suspicious of social media people who are busy and aren't advertising an obvious way to make money, like please become a member on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, or subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. How does she have the time to fight with me all day on Twitter? Most people are very busy doing what they're doing to earn money, including me, to have time for that crap. The only reason I engage with her is that I suspected that she's a social engineer part of a network that's been set upon me 7 years ago to stop me from counteracting these narratives that, you know, major media wants to put out there. It doesn't make sense, in my view, that the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences would spend over $1 million suing me to try to shut down Crowdsource the Truth and the YouTube channel. It just doesn't make sense, particularly since I told them, hey, I'll take this image down for free. Why would you want to spend $1 million in 3 years suing me to compel me to do something that I offered to do for free, unless you had some other reason? I don't know if I finished this idea, but tomorrow is the day the Emmys have to respond to my 60B4 motion. So they sued that fake entity, Multimedia System Design Inc., DBA Crowdsource the Truth, and that lost by default when Snyder withdrew. But remember, they drew me into an abusive, look at this, an abusive show cause hearing where Caproni, they really, you know, they have to cheat to win, all of them. It's quite disturbing. But, you know, she made me testify pro se. Boy, that looks delicious, doesn't it? Come on, what are you doing? What is this guy doing? Trying to get across the street, and this dude's jamming us up with a parallel parking where there's no parking spot. But she jammed me up, made me testify pro se, and then when I said something incorrect, would not allow me to modify the testimony, and she was able to sanction me. So this is how these judges operate, when they can take away your rights, when they can, you know, deny justice or allowing you to do what would be fair. That's when they're able to win, or at least in my cases. So this is Bodega Negra. Look at that. Modern Beijing cuisine. That looks really good. Huh. Fancy panda. Yeah, but you know, so when they sanctioned me, see, they were so thirsty to get me that they actually opened the door for it, because it was Multimedia System Design Inc., DBA Crowdsource the Truth. The whole reason why they wanted that to be the defendant was so that Jason, me, could not act pro se. I can't defend a corporation because I'm not an attorney. That's why I had to hire Snyder. But when they got to the point of sanctioning me for sending that email to Larry Klayman that contained the email address that they're treating like a national security matter, because I allege that email address is owned by George's brother and that he was the progenitor of the email that started the whole entire case. But anyway, when they sanctioned me for revealing it to Larry Klayman in an attorney-client privilege email where I was seeking representation and legal strategy from an attorney who wasn't representing me, they opened the door for me to have an opportunity, Goodman, to have an opportunity to move on appeal. So I appealed. I filed a motion for relief from the judgment under Rule 60B4, pointing out all these things, that Judge Caproni was covering up this alleged conspiracy between George's brother, the CEO of the Emmys, her, the former general counsel of the FBI who was working at Twitter at the time. I mean, the amount of evidence is really outrageous. George's brother sends an email on October 21st to legal@twitter.com, which has to be received by someone who either works for Jim Baker, if not Jim Baker himself. And I mean, he's gonna see it in the 10 days. They're aware of what I know. It was going out on Twitter. And I mean, obviously they're, you know, getting communications from George's brother. By the way, that's the same way Ballard Spahr came to represent Chris Boozy. They didn't know what was going on until George's brother tweeted at Ben Wittes. The next day, Ballard Spahr appeared on behalf of Boozy and started representing him. That's the only reason he had a lawyer. He was ignoring the case up until then. He was about to lose by default because he spent 6 months, you know, saying, F you, Jason, I don't care about your lawsuit. So that was crazy. But yeah, so Sater. So Almaty, Kazakhstan brings the case. Like I said, this is a very complicated thing. But it's interesting to observe who's coming at me when I start talking about it, because then, Julie, so she's firing all these tweets at me. She's reporting me to Twitter. They send me an email, says, hey, 17 or 18 of your tweets were reported for, directed harassment, or I forget, targeted harassment, whatever it is. And I wrote back to them and said, no, this person targeted me. She had me blocked. I forget why she blocked me, but after the first initial run-in with her, she blocked me. And then now, just the other day, she unblocked me to start this whole argument, and I explained all that to Twitter. Oh, and there was the other component that I forgot to get into, so let's talk about this. So this other guy shows up. No, where is he? He's over here. He's over here. This guy, Tom, where is he? Here he is. This guy, Tom, shows up. So Julie gets blocked. She gets removed from Twitter because I said, hey, this person unblocked me. She stole my content. And where is the part where she stole my rights? So she blocked me. She's back on there. She blocked me now. So Tom, let's see if I've got it here. Tom, yeah, he's still on me because he's upset. I had a video here that showed how here it is. Okay, so Tom, he wants to congratulate me. What he did was he went and stole the video from one of the paid channels. The video so Felix Sater assaulted me, and I made that a sponsor exclusive video the other day. And this guy decided, no, he doesn't want Jason to be able to earn money online. He's gonna steal his intellectual property and illegally distribute it here on Twitter. He put the full video up on Twitter. People who still want to see that can become sponsors. You can become a member on Odyssey. It's only $3 a month, odyssey.com/@crowdsource the truth, and you can go on there and you can see the video. I mean, this is my honest way of earning money. I make videos. People want information to be free. That's fine. It's free. Go around and find all the information that you want. But if you want a show where I'm talking about some of this free information and doing things like going to court and giving my own insights, that's what you're paying for, is a professionally produced show about that. So, I mean, think of how brazen that is, that this guy, Tom, just decides he doesn't like it, that this is how I intend to earn a living, and he's gonna steal my product and distribute it for free so that I can't make money. I mean, that's like pretty malicious. That's like coming into my store and stealing the stuff and then selling it out on a blanket on the street, which certain people think you should be able to do. So good news, Tom got the video taken down. I did report him. I got the video taken down, I should say, from Tom. I found out how to do a copyright strike on Twitter. It wasn't that easy. But so now he's upset, and he put out, was this the, yeah. So he put out a new tweet about how upset he is with me. What is he saying here? This guy's crazy. I mean, right, here we go. He's making memes about me and everything. So why would these people do this? Does this make any sense? Particularly Julie, because, you know, she's supposed to be some dunce sitting in her house making a blog about Felix Sater when she's not working at the beer store and she's busy. Most people who have 15-year-old kids are busy, and she gets super upset when I mention the kid. She's the one who brought him up, names the Twitter handle after the kid, tells everybody she's a mom. So this is what I mean. This is part of the tactic. They want you to attack whatever characteristic. Everybody's going to do that, right? They take whatever little information they have about you, like that guy Tom just took the cartoon picture of me, stuck it in the car. They want to take whatever little information they have about you and use it in an insult. That's what everybody does in a Twitter beef. So it seems like it's a pretty common tactic for them to take a female operative and have her make a minor child some aspect of the conversation, so that if you say anything insulting toward the child, they make it all about that, even though they're the ones who brought it up and brought it into the discussion. So, you know, it makes no sense that they would carry on with this, because I'm talking about involving them in a legal action, and it's not idle talk. There's a lot of lawsuits going on already. In fact, that's part of the reason why there haven't been too many shows lately. I've been doing a lot of writing, and also yesterday we had Father's Day, so we took a night off from Web of Deception with John Cullen. But there's a lot of good episodes there. If you've been missing them, check it out. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you dig in and even risk, you know? It's like, if this were a legitimate thing where this person is just interested in Felix Sater, which is so implausible on its face. She's like, oh, he got shafted by the system, or whatever the hell her reason is for being interested in Felix Sater. Why don't you make a blog about Yuri Gagarin, who I think was the first guy to go into space, or somebody that anybody cares about at all? Nobody cares about or has ever heard of Felix Sater, and her blog just smacks of being a propaganda tool of the DIA and the FBI, the people who want you to think Felix Sater is a fantastic hero. I think the actual truth is he's assisted the deep state in doing some pretty disgustingly scumbaggery things that have created a lot of problems, that if people knew about it, the people who did it might go to jail or something like that. I don't know. None of this has been proven in court. What this journey to the Felix Sater trial was really about, for me, was, again, to learn things that were not written in the pleadings. I'll give you an example. The lawyer for the bank from Boies Schiller Flexner is a guy named Schwartz. I think it's like Michael Schwartz, maybe. And so I went there one day last week. There's a demon. I went there one day last week, and the day before, the judge had said, okay, jury, come back at 10 a.m. So I figure the thing starts at 10. So I figure I'll get there early and maybe sit in the back, so when people walk in, they won't notice me and they'll just go and sit down. So I get there at about 9:30, and the lawyers and Sater and everybody is already in there. The jury is not there yet. So you see, that's the thing, I'm not a lawyer. So lawyers might laugh and say, Jason doesn't know a damn thing about court. But that's true, I don't. I'm not a lawyer, and nothing I'm saying is legal advice. I'm a regular guy who's going to court and reporting it to people. But anyway, they were talking about how the bank first learned that Felix Sater was involved with this company Litco, because the bank was super pissed off, because what they thought was happening is the bank thought they were hiring a company to investigate where the stolen money went, but instead they got Felix Sater, who they allege stole 20 million of the money that they found, that they recovered. So in other words, it's almost like they hired the thieves to find the money that had been stolen. And I mean, maybe that was the idea. They talked about flipping people and stuff like that. Oh my God, these fucking screaming assholes. So again, you know, this is a deep, deep, deep case with lots of people involved, and, you know, it could be interesting to read Julie's blog. I'm, by the way, not telling anybody not to do that. I'm not trying to counteract what she's saying. In many cases, I haven't even gone into any detail at all with what she's written, because I frankly don't care. I'm not trying to figure out the whole entire case. I'm trying to figure out why. What is going on here? Pina colada from the church? Selling booze? I'm not trying to follow the case and every pleading and understand Felix Sater's story and Julie's version of Felix Sater's story and the FBI and the DIA's version of Felix Sater's story. I'm trying to understand why Judge Caproni is always around everything to do with this guy Felix Sater and Snyder, and what if anything, all these idiots had to do with me losing my case. I mean, that's the thing. That's all I care about. I'm not, so that's how people know that my motivation is pure. It's totally selfish. I'm trying to resolve my own problem. I'm not here trying to help Felix Sater, which is what Julie appears to be doing. She's defending him, and she's written this whole blog about him, and she says she's eventually going to make an e-book for free about it someday, and that Jason is bad because he's trying to get people to pay a very reasonable monthly fee of $3. See, that's the thing. When people I don't know insult the business model and tell people vague things like Jason is lying, you know they're social engineers. This is all my opinion. You might disagree. But you know they're social engineers because the truth of the matter is, if they just didn't care or didn't like what I was saying, they would turn it off. By telling people, if they say Jason is lying and then explain in detail what it is that I've lied about, that might be interesting, but they won't do that. Remember with Oren Levi, he said I was lying because I had said that he was using facial recognition software. Now, he could be correct that he wasn't using facial recognition software, but that wouldn't mean that I was lying about that. I was just wrong about it. So again, they want to change what I'm saying. Julie was doing all of that as well. Unknown accounts were responding to things she was tweeting at my tweets. And I was noticing too, she was looking for tweets that were getting lots of views. They're worried now that the Twitter account is growing. If people aren't following me on X, please do that at JG_CSTT. See, it's whatever I'm on. They don't want me to gain the kind of influence where the things I'm talking about will be seen by people who can do something about it. That's the issue. You know, when I had 120,000 YouTube subscribers and it was growing like crazy and lots of people were seeing what was going on. Look, this is new, scuba.com. We used to have Scuba Network. Maybe that went out of business. So now this is way bigger. Are that many people in New York scuba diving? Look, a little scuba jet. Nice. Sea-Doo, that's a big one. I had one of those in the aquarium in Dubai, but it was a tiny little battery-powered one. That one looked quite huge. That was 10 years ago we did that in Dubai. It's a long time. But anyway, where was I? Felix Sater. Julie, right, Twitter. Yeah, they don't want me to gain influence so that, big accounts will hear what I'm talking about. It's fine for Jason to yap about all of this if nobody's paying any attention. But when 2.2 million people realize that Norm Eisen set all this up and they start thinking about that, they hate it. They hate that. So definitely sponsor the show. Help me keep going with this information. I can't do it without you guys. I really appreciate everybody who has been sponsoring the show. Hey, look, that's new. Flatiron Family Dental. I like the logo with the Flatiron building and a tooth. Nicely done. So, again, I don't know exactly what is going on over there, but it is interesting to observe how freaked out these guys got just at the premise of me being there and asking these questions. Oh yeah, there's another important thing about this dunce Tom that we have to look at. Yeah, because you see, he started doing all of his deal. No, that's not it. This is it. He started doing all of his deal after Snyder assaulted me. And Snyder's got a little legal problem coming for himself. But look at this. Here is John Snyder reviewing this dope on LinkedIn. He's a consummate technologist whose depth of knowledge, Tom is a consummate technologist whose depth of knowledge and technical mastery allows him to solve problems in a unique and creative fashion. What is he talking about? I regularly consult with Tom. Am I a problem that Tom is solving for John Snyder right here? Look at this guy. He's all in for Ukraine. Is he part of the Ukraine IT army? See, when I see that kind of cryptic language, ooh, this guy is solving problems. What are you talking about, John Snyder? What kind of problems is he solving for you? Problems like, hey, I just assaulted my former client on video? Think about that. The guy's an attorney. He knows the law. He knows I'm mad at him. He knows I've been threatening to sue him for malpractice because he dumped my case. He knows I'm super pissed off about that. The fact that he would assault me while there's a camera on him, I don't know, to me, I look at that, causes me to think that he was so upset by my presence and so upset by the fact that I did not just lose all my money and go away, that he can barely contain himself. That's the conclusion that I draw looking at that public domain evidence. Other people might disagree, but I think that's what's going on there. I think these guys are involved in covering up something so big that just the notion of anybody moving against what they're trying to do at all gets them so upset that they physically attack me. That's what I think. We've seen it now in Patrick Byrne. We've seen it now in Felix Sater. And if you missed that, you know, definitely become a sponsor. Subscribestar, Patreon, Odyssey, Substack. Video's still on there. Tom was trying to distribute it to everybody for free because he doesn't want me to be able to earn money. Why not just ignore what I say and go on saying what you say about Felix Sater? If you're smarter than me and what you're writing about him and the videos that you make about him are better than what I'm doing. Wasn't this that shoe store? All Birds or whatever the hell it's called? I don't remember. Microsoft's coming in or going out? Probably coming in. Microsoft's coming in or going out? Microsoft is in already. It's in already? So Microsoft is already there. Fantastic. What do they need it for? Yeah, that's what I think. I think these guys are covering up something so huge. And you know what I think it is? I don't know, but when I put together the pieces, you know, we heard the lawyer for the bank say that this was so important because it really went to the national sovereignty and the integrity of the entire place. So it really was an attack, if you think about it, on Kazakhstan. And hasn't that been the plan for like the past 30 years? Destroy the Soviet Union. They did that. Then we know now they want to destroy Russia, and they're definitely, you know, have destroyed Ukraine and make it, you know, financially indebted to the United States for like the rest of whenever. They got hundreds of billions of dollars. Is it possible that this was part of a plan to prevent all the former Soviet republics from becoming financially strong, independent, sovereign nations so that Russia would have a network of trading partners and could kind of simulate an EU type of situation? Wouldn't it make sense that the same people who destroyed the Soviet Union and wanted to maintain economic and military superiority over Russia would want to keep these former republics that were pro-Russia, keep them weak financially, and do these kind of crimes and things? Remember what else Felix Sater said to me in the park. He said that he was not paid by the government to do this. How could you spend all your time flying around the world, risking your life, going to Afghanistan and all the places he told us he went and all the things that he told us he did? How could you afford the plane tickets? How could you leave a regular job or a business that you would be running? I mean, we read the plea agreement, or I read it. I don't know if I read it on air. They said when they call you for their assistance, like, you can't say no. So I don't understand really how you could be doing much of anything other than working for them. And if they weren't paying you, how did that work? Again, I don't know, but I can speculate based on other evidence I've seen. Now, I can't recall if this is public domain or not, but somebody that everybody watching knows, and most people I would think trust, told me that another somebody that everybody knows who has testified before Congress, and it's like, this is not, I just can't remember if this person said it publicly or said it to me in private, but they spoke about how an undercover operation involved the DEA actually allowing this person to launder money. And they knew that he was doing that. I mean, it makes sense. Again, I'm not telling anybody anything crazy. If you're trying to bust a money laundering network or the mafia or whatever, you're going to have undercover people posing as criminals. So this guy's posing was as a money launderer. It might have even been in a book that I read this, but whatever, because I don't remember exactly who told me what when, I know who the people are, and the point is the DEA allowed this person to do money laundering. So what if the DIA or the FBI said to Felix Sater, hey, you know what? This is war, and we're trying to destroy the Soviet Union, and we're trying to destroy the republics that broke off after that, and we're trying to destroy Russia and control it economically, and so your role in this is you're going to be a money launderer, and you can keep all the money that you launder. Because he kept 20 million bucks. And his argument, so this is what I wanted to tell everybody about that lawyer, Michael Schwartz, that when I got there early, see, I always come back. I have a lot of ADD, but I come back to it. When I got there early, they were talking, and Felix Sater had said, no, the bank is lying. They knew that I was involved in Litco because I even interacted with their lawyer, Mr. Schwartz. Felix Sater stood up and said that to the judge. And I don't know if he was sworn when he said that or if this was just some chat with the judge beforehand or whatever. It feels like that's what it was. I don't know if people were sworn in at this moment, and that would make sense. And that would be quite a sophisticated lawfare play by him. But then when the judge said, okay, let the jury in, and this little confab stopped, Michael Schwartz turned around to hand some documents to Snyder and Seema, and he said to Felix Sater, you didn't meet with me, you met with Skinner. And Felix Sater said, Skinner, you're right. So was he lying to the judge, or did he not exactly remember? But that's the kind of detail that you would not get unless you were sitting there listening. That's not recorded in the transcript. There's not going to be a video of that. So what the hell is he doing there? I think he's playing games on behalf of the U.S. military who want to, financially subvert these former Soviet republics. And that's why he's so protected. But I guess the reason why all this activity is coming down on me is that if the public knew that the United States war apparatus involved having military assets interact with me in civil court when I'm not breaking the law or attempting to participate in this war at all, I don't know. I mean, how would people feel about that? I would hope it's not really the kind of thing that we would tolerate. But that's basically what I got from going to court. I think that's what they're doing. And I think that Felix was involved with Michael Flynn just based on the network of operatives that have come at me. This guy Tom knows John Snyder. Snyder 86 is my case from the Television Academy with the Twitter asshole Adam Sharp, which is connected to the FBI through Valerie Caproni and, of course, Jim Baker, twittering up or FBIing up Twitter. It's just crazy. And they would have you believe that this is all just, happenstance. This is coincidence. Jason's a conspiracy theorist to connect these things. Couldn't possibly be. And, of course, Adam Sharp goes on CNBC to tell them about how the Russians are going to do whatever with Twitter and Hunter Biden's laptop. Even though he's been working for the Television Academy for 4 years, he's got to go onto CNBC in 2020 when everybody's in a mad scramble to cover up the laptop. Sharp is participating in that. And, George's brother is in charge of sending emails to everybody at opportune moments, whether it's, hey, Jason's going to SpaceX to try to communicate with Elon Musk 10 days before he gets attacked outside of Twitter, or, hey, Jason produced a video on June 12th, 6 weeks ago, that you guys should wait until August 20th to strike, so that way Jason can't broadcast for 2.5 months before the election. And 2 weeks after, think about that. It would be Adam Sharp who calculated that timing, and that would suggest to me that in July of 2020. He knew that they planned to cover up this laptop because he waited until August 20th to make a complaint to YouTube because that shut down Crowdsource the Truth. August 20th to September 20th to October 20th to November 20th. So it was 2.5 months before the election and 2 weeks after. He knew that he wanted to clear the field of dissenting voices for the 2 weeks after the election when they were busy selling everybody on the laptop, cover up. That's what I think. You might look at this evidence and come to a completely different conclusion. This is the future of boxes. Oh, and dog shit. Amazing. So anyway, that's what I was able to determine. I think the case is still going on today, but I had some counter lawfare work to do. That's what I wanted to talk about. So we had a lawfare hearing in Congress, and I should have looked this woman's name up. I mentioned it last time, but she said we need to use lawfare against them. And what she means is counter lawfare, but even that is kind of a misnomer. I took it from, basically, when you've got terrorism, the FBI, they don't have an anti-terrorism division, which is actually what you would want. They have a counter-terrorism division, and as I understand that, that would mean using terrorism against terrorism, and I think what we want is to just stop terrorism. So that would really be anti-terrorism, and I guess anti-lawfare is what we want to use against lawfare, but I've co-opted their misnomer language, and so I really want to help people understand this counter lawfare because the representative had a negative response to the attorney saying that we need to use lawfare against them. I think what she meant and what counter lawfare means to me is to turn the lawfare against them, their own actions against them, to cause these lawfare cases to collapse because they are lawfare, to expose them as the frauds that they are, and to help people understand these different tactics that are being used. Look, we got a clothing transaction happening over there.
I'm like,
crazy.
oh, like I thought it was...
But if people can understand how lawfare works and how it can be counteracted, maybe it will no longer be a threat. So I've filed something today. I don't want to say too much about it. It might be on the docket already, in which case George's brother will know about it. Otherwise, he's going to be getting it in the mail, or he'll probably see it on the docket before he gets it in the mail. This used to be an Italian restaurant. Now it's a wreck. But yeah, counter lawfare. Got to shut these cases down. It's not easy to do. And they have a lot of resources, and they just don't give up. They are such cheaters, it's crazy. But thanks everybody for tuning in. That's what I think Felix Sater is up to. I don't know if we'll ever find out. That's the thing with crowdsourcing the truth. It's sort of constantly going on. But thanks to people who are providing help and information and sponsoring the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. I've been adding more legacy content, so even if you just want to get on there for free, it's totally free to subscribe on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, and you can also become a member on Odyssey. Just tap on the membership tab and choose your membership level. There's no different fancier stuff if you pay more than $3, because I don't know. I didn't have any ideas for how to work that out. So thanks to everybody who pays more than $3. I appreciate everybody who sponsors the show at any amount, even just $3. I made it $3 so that it would be easy for people to sponsor the show. I don't want to put anybody out, and I'd rather get $3 from 1,000 different people than 3,000 from one. Anyway, email the link to people if you're already a sponsor. And thanks to everybody who's sponsoring on Subscribestar and Patreon. I think I see a raptor over there. Have a great afternoon, everybody.